Guys, we are back on the water. Winter was a long one this year. We are finally out this in 2025. This is the first time I've been fishing in 4 or 5 months, even been on the water at all. I mean, I've had a third baby since the last time I fished. We've got a new president since the last time I fished. Rob, the camera guy's had 3 new hairstyles since the last time I fished. But we're out here now. We got another installment of the Ultimate Rod series. And anybody that knows me or has fished with me knows that day in and day out, one of my favorite ways to catch them is the old tried and true blade, the spinnerbait. And the reason we haven't done an Ultimate Rod series video on the spinnerbait yet is because, let's be honest, it's a little boring. The rods are pretty straightforward. It's not anything glamorous, but one of the oldest techniques that is totally overlooked, totally ignored. It still catches the absolute hell out of fish. And we're going to go through our 3 favorite spinnerbait rods that we stock at AmericanLegacyFishing.com. The way that this works, we're going to pick a rod that's the ultimate spinnerbait rod, under $150, under $300, and I don't care what it costs, just give me the best. I've got these 3 sitting here. We're ready to rifle through them. First, let's start with a few details about what we're looking for in a spinnerbait rod. And obviously, spinnerbait can mean a lot of things. You can be throwing a little finesse spinnerbait. You can throw a big ledge buster spinnerbait. We're honing in on the middle range, the 3/8 to 1/2 ounce spinnerbait. You're going down the bank, you're fishing a point, anything like that, just the day in and day out spinnerbait fishing. What I want is a rod that is somewhere in the 6'9" to 7'3" range. Length is not a huge deal to me here. If I had my pick, it would be about 7 foot to 7'2". I used to be on the shorter spinnerbait rod train, but now I just find myself gravitating towards, the longer rods, getting a little more distance out of it. And, when you learn to roll cast kind of like that, the longer rods don't really hurt you too much. So that's what I like, having a rod that's a little bit longer than historically thought. So we're kind of looking for that 6'9" to 7'3". I want it to have a nice amount of backbone to it. It needs to be able to set the hook, but it's got to have a decent amount of tip. So in the past, I've thrown a spinnerbait rod that's pretty darn stiff. And over the past probably 3 years, I have really moved into a rod that is fairly soft and has a tip that'll really absorb the bite. And I want to be able to load that fish up on the hook set, make sure that that hook drives in well, but doesn't just blow a hole in the fish's mouth. I want that softness. I want that ability to absorb a bite and keep the fish pinned. So I've noticed that the softer rod, I don't miss many fish. Like, there's almost no difference between how many fish I hook with a faster rod and a slower action rod, but there's a huge difference in the amount of fish that I put in the boat versus, the ones that I lose when I change up to that softer rod. So that's kind of what we're looking for. Other factors would be, I need it to have on the shorter side of a butt section. I don't want a long butt section that gets in my way if I'm trying to roll cast or make a little, tight pitch, just under a piece of wood or something like that. So not too long of a butt section. Other than that, just a basic good fishing rod. That's all we're looking for. This is not complicated. This is throwing a spinnerbait, guys. This is the way fishing was intended to be. So with all that being said, I got 3 rods sitting here. Let's go. I actually got 4. We'll go through them. I'm going to start with the under 150 price point. We're going to go with Dobbins. We're going to go with a Fury FR733C. This rod's 7'3", medium heavy. The Furies are pretty soft, so even though this is a medium heavy fast, no problems there. Has plenty of tip to it. Rod's going to load up very nicely. It's got the right amount of power, good length on the butt section, fairly lightweight rod for a $129 price point. Feels good in your hand, and it's just going to do everything you need it to do with that spinnerbait. It's sensitive enough. Of course, not a presentation. You need a lot of sensitivity, but I still do like to be able to feel the blades turn over, and really, it's one of the big deals with spinnerbait fishing. You want to be in tune with your bait. You don't want to just be out there mindlessly chucking and winding. Like, you still want to feel connected. This rod's got enough sensitivity you can do that. There's not a lot to go over here. This is just a classic Fury rod that everybody really likes. It's a super popular model. you have a lot of uses with this too. That's the other thing I like about it. You don't have to just use a spinnerbait on it. You can hit a bunch of different presentations. This is a really good rod to have in your arsenal, and that's the one for under 150. If we now move on to the under 300 price point, I've got two rods here. I'll go over the first one. This is a rod that I have historically favored, and that's kind of my old school approach to spinnerbait fishing, so I had to mention it. It's the Shimano X Pride 6'10" medium heavy. And so this is the kind of the classic approach. You know, all of your old school, the red painted blank G Loomis rods, the SBR 813, that was the rod that like everybody used for a spinnerbait rod. A high-end spinnerbait rod back in the day was that SBR 813. They still make it in an IMX Pro. This is kind of that same feel, that same guts as that rod had, but in an X Pride form. And it's a little bit on the stiffer side. It's not going to load up, you know, super well. It is definitely a rod that is a faster action. When you get a bite, that thing's going to immediately respond. You're going to set the hook. It's going to fish the bait really well. It's going to give you the contact to feel the blades turn over, all that good stuff. The only thing I don't like about it is you will get into a situation where you end up, you know, if you've got a thicker gauge hook on your spinnerbait, you're going to blow a hole in their mouth every now and again. And that's going to cause you to lose some fish just because, you know, you're not leaving, the rod's not doing a lot of work for you. This is a power rod here. So I still really like these. I would still have no hesitations fishing a spinnerbait with one of these, but, and I'll lead this into my next selection, this is my kind of new school approach that I have just really enjoyed. And the one I'm choosing for this is the Tatua Elite, and this is the 7'2" universal. So this is a regular bend. It's a much more parabolic rod. It almost feels like a composite rod. It probably is a composite rod of some variety, but it kind of gives you that glass feel, but with the weight of graphite. And it loads up exceptionally well. When a fish bites, it gives you plenty of flex. It's going to let them really eat that bait, drive the hook in hopefully a little bit deeper in their mouth and not get that real, you know, shallow skin on the outside of their mouth. You're going to make sure that they swallow that thing. It gets in at that penetration where it's not going to be able to get rid of that bait. And I just find that when you use a rod like this, which I've even used an X Pride 7'2" medium heavy glass, kind of like similar to a bladed jig rod, those fish they don't come off. They stay pinned, and that is a great feeling. You don't want to lose them. You work too hard to get a bite. Let's make sure you get them to the boat. So this rod's 7'2" in length, super lightweight. Sensitivity is excellent, feeling those blades rotate around. Nice split grip handle. Butt section is the correct length. And again, this is another rod given by the name universal. You can use this thing for a ton of different applications, like plenty of applications. Anything you want. This is one of those jack of all trades, you know, master of none. Whatever you have that you want to throw outside of big baits or super finesse baits, anything in that middle weight ranges, you can do it with this stick. So Tatua Elite, 7'2", universal, excellent choice in the under 300 price point. And so that leaves us with one. And this was a tough decision because you don't need to buy an expensive spinnerbait rod. You really don't. Buying a $500–600 spinnerbait rod is, you know, kind of on the overkill side. However, it doesn't mean that we don't like the finer things in life. And so I present to you the I don't care what it costs, just give me the best option, which is the GLX 843C MBR. And this rod fits the same criteria I was talking about with the X Pride. It's not super soft. It's pretty crisp. It's pretty darn stiff. But the reason I went with this model is that this will throw a spinnerbait extremely well. But it also checks a bunch of boxes for other presentations. So what led me to this is you shouldn't spend $550 on a spinnerbait rod. But if you want to buy a spinnerbait rod that when it's not springtime and you're not chucking a blade around, you want to have another option to keep this expensive premium quality piece of equipment in your hand, this model will allow you to do that. Finesse jigs, any other, you know, lighter bottom contact stuff, even some more moving bait options. This is just a very versatile rod. That 7 foot medium heavy fast, traditionally just one of the most versatile models you can put in your hand. So this thing, blades turning over, you're going to be able to feel that extremely well. Great backbone. It's got enough tip that you can really, you know, roll cast that thing around, make sure it has a soft landing. So it checks all the boxes. It's just a classic old school rod. Highly recommend it. But like I said, if I had to pick one model, I'm not going to choose a $550 rod for spinnerbait. I'm going to go back to that Tattoo Elite 7'2" universal rod. That is the best dedicated spinning rod I have found. Check those out. They're all available at AmericanLegacyFishing.com. Make sure you subscribe below. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers. Let's get there. We're close, guys. We're close. Appreciate you watching. Feel free to comment below. Send us a message. We're here to help. And we'll keep kicking out this content. And I'm going to try to catch an actual bass. That's my goal today. Catch an actual bass in Indiana in March. It feels good to be out, guys. Fishing season is ahead of us. We'll see you next time.